Let's continue this discussion. Brian Todd, thank you so much. But let's continue this discussion with David Gartenstein-Ross. He's a senior fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. David, thanks so much for coming in.
My pleasure.
Of course. I want to ask you kind of your take. I know you've seen the video. I've seen the video. We're not showing the video, and that's important. It's a very different look. It's a very different video. This is not a beheading. This is not Jihadi John wielding a knife, making broad statements about how ISIS is going to take on the United States, and this is a retaliation for U.S. involvement in Iraq and Syria. Very different tone. What do you make of this change in tone?
It's a very different video. From my view, it's potentially much more macabre than the other videos. Bear in mind that it's supposed to be a series of videos. We don't know how it ends yet. But when I look at it and look at the narrative arc, one thing he mentions in this video is that the U.S. and U.K. won't negotiate. It seems to me like potentially what the script is doing is setting up his death at the end, making him walk through this series of propaganda pieces, then executing him, setting up the narrative that it's the U.S. and the U.K. to blame.
It almost seems more twisted, actually, when you lay it out that way, because I absolutely agree with you. Why do you think they would change this tactic? Because those gruesome beheading videos were getting a whole lot of attention.
It may be because they think it's more effective to have a Westerner talking to a Western audience, but another possibility is that there's an element of revenge. As the piece that set up this discussion notes, he'd previously been held by extremists in Syria, and after Cantley was held, he actually fingered some people who were involved. This has been reported in the media, so there may actually be an element of revenge that's involved in walking him through this gruesome series of videos.
And you also have then this element of it's also a different type of message. They're not threatening retaliation. They're not threatening to come after the United States. The way that it's laid out, and Brian used this line of it in the piece, they talk about why would our governments appear so keen to get involved in yet another unwinnable conflict? What are they trying to do here? What's this message?
I think there's a few different messages here. One is a message to the people of America and Britain saying that your governments are getting involved in an unwinnable war, trying to reduce their legitimacy and reduce the legitimacy of the action in order to create public pressure against it.
On that exact point, though, does it almost show, and I hate to say they're savvy, but how attuned they are to Western mentality? It's almost like they're playing to the polls.
To some extent, but to another extent not. When most people are watching this, most reasonable people, they'll understand that it's somebody who is literally under duress at the barrel of a gun. And so, to a large extent, it's not going to resonate the way that they hope. It's set up very well. He appears calm. He's in a newscaster's position.
Yeah.
That's what he is. He's an anchor, essentially, for this program. But the duress and the fact that they just released 3 beheading videos makes the coercion behind his words very clear.
And it seems, pretty understandable and reasonable to think that Cantley will suffer the same ending, the same death at some point that the other videos that we've seen, that we saw in the other videos. Do you think there is a real impact here of this video, though, on the U.S., on the West?
I don't think there's a huge impact in terms of policy. I think there may be an impact. His words may resonate to some extent and may help to produce some dissatisfaction. And then there's the general demoralization or just horror of having someone walked through having to be a propaganda piece for this outfit. And then, if he is killed, let's hope he isn't. But if he is killed at the end, then having that grisly end as well.
Yeah, but make no mistake, this is just another way that they are terrorizing. This is just another way that this group is trying to spread their terror. There's nothing less gruesome about it just because we're not seeing a beheading on camera. David, it's great to see you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Of course.